When people think of medicine, they usually think of lab coats, test tubes, prescriptions, medicines, data. When I step into the exam room, it feels a little bit more like art. It's listening, it is sorting out what I'm hearing, but it's all really human. I'm Dr. Cameo Carter. I'm a board certified pediatrician and mom of 3, and thanks for joining me at the end of the day. In medicine, we do talk a lot about science. We talk about data, we talk about research, we talk about the details that are happening physiologically, best practices. Those things are all really super important. But we don't often talk a lot or as much about the art of medicine. And I think that that is equally important. It involves listening, it involves intuition, it involves communication, and it involves connection. And I think that the best medicine, the best medical care is where those two things take equal importance and where they meet together. Grounded in evidence, but shaped by empathy, persistence, and a partnership between the doctor and the patient. So, first of all, the science. The science is rigorous. The training is rigorous. There are basic sciences that are required to learn and study before even going into medical school. And we spend years studying physiology, anatomy, pathophysiology, pharmacology, cellular biology, all the building blocks about how a body works, how it works well, how it's supposed to work, how it works when it's healthy, and what happens when it doesn't, and what are the pathways for dysfunction as well. And even after medical school and residency and all of the training, formal training stops, there is still this lifelong learning process. The education never stops. We're always learning through continuing medical education, new research, updated guidelines. When we have something that's kind of stumping us, we spend additional time doing literature searches, reading, trying to figure out how to help our patient best. And I think that also an important part is those aspects of the scientific training, the scientific method, about investigating when things don't fit into a nice, neat box or perfect algorithm. That's a really important aspect of learning and training in the sciences, and that scientific foundation helps us learn how to reason through that if a certain algorithm is not panning out and happening exactly like we think it will, then we can sort through and say, if something feels off, how can we look down and find why that's happening, what else could be going on? That deeper understanding really helps us in finding a path forward. So that kind of gives us a whole construct and a whole background and baseline to help us in medicine. But I think the art is also something that's really important to us, for us to understand as physicians as well as patients, in order for there to be the best outcomes in our patient care and what we're able to deliver. That other side of the coin is the art. And really listening is the bridge to it. Listening is one of the most powerful tools we have. It helps us see beyond the lab results, the symptoms, helps us to understand the story, helps us understand the context that we're hearing things in, and being able to not only understand the timeline, but other things that might be affecting what's going on. It helps us to ask the right questions. Communication is another essential point that we have. So we need to listen, digest everything that we're hearing, and then being able to communicate well what we think is going on, what plan we have, what expectation do we have, and making sure our patients understand why we have those ideas, that regimen going forward, and when to expect to see results. And then also, if things are worsening, when to make sure we are following up. If things are improving, when are we following up? Making sure that there's that communication going back and forth is so important. That's where trust grows, in that doctor-patient relationship. And it also helps us because it's a dynamic process. When we are determining what is occurring with a patient, there's something called the differential diagnosis. So we'll set out in our mind the things that it could be, what ranks higher, what ranks lower, the things that are happening in the story or in the labs or diagnostics that help that raise either higher or lower. But also the treatment and the plan going forward and what happens with that helps us in that differential. And if things are not going as we think they will, that also helps inform and helps us with that decision making. That partnership, that persistence is very helpful in getting the outcomes that we want for our patients and that our patients want for themselves. It means that we're going to keep asking questions. We're going to keep thinking. Sometimes we're even going to bulldog things for you where we're just not going to let something go. We're going to keep getting at it until we get the answers, the results, coordinating care, fighting for the right referral or test. It is a process. And sometimes that takes time. And I know all of us wish things were faster, but sometimes that process is important in that whole treatment pathway. That is part of the art too. And so we need to hear back from patients. We need that follow-up so much. It's a whole feedback loop that occurs. So one thing I've heard from time to time from patients or from patient parents and experiences they've had with physicians is they'll talk about a situation they had and they'll say, you know what, they gave me this medicine or they gave me this plan to try, but it didn't work. So I didn't go back. And I understand it. It's frustrating. It can feel like extra time or, hey, it didn't work, so why would I bother? But if we don't know as doctors that something didn't work, we can't adjust course. That feedback is really essential to us. And medicine is this evolving process. It's iterative. So it means that we make a plan, we learn what happens, and then we refine that plan. It's detective work, and it requires that collaboration to make sure that we're following along the pathway that's leading us to the results that we want. If you don't understand why something is being recommended, make sure you ask. And, asking the pros and cons of that pathway is important. If it's not working, tell us, but also before you even start something, you ask, why are we being given this, or why are we being given this recommendations, and what can we expect from that? It's not questioning your doctor in a non-respectful way or anything. It's really partnering with us. And that's really what we want. So when we bring together the science and the art, and we add in always that aspect of advocacy, this is where you're going to get the results that you're wanting the best. The science gives us the knowledge, the art gives us the wisdom, advocacy, that persistence, that bulldog spirit. That's how we keep the art and the science connected. In other crafts, this is used as well. In music, the musician needs to have theory and soul. An architect needs to have both math and a vision. Doctors need the precision of science and the humanity of art. At the end of the day, medicine is both science and story. It's about persistence, curiosity, connection. Every patient we see adds to that story, teaching us how to be better scientists, better artists, and better humans. So the next time you see your doctor, know that we're drawing from both the data and the dialogue, the protocol and the partnership, all in service of helping you and your family heal and optimize wellness.